Afternoon, night fans. Not the result we wanted. It is time for Night Shift. Myself, Andrew Gluchov, along with the student of the game, Kyle Nash, and our guest, Aaron Evans, former UCF offensive lineman. We're here to talk about UCF's game, the loss against Southern Methodist, 55-28. Kyle, you and I have been doing this together a long time. We've seen ups, we've seen downs. This was rough. This was a rough one.
Yeah, it's a shame. Our first time doing radio again is after this particular game, but I have to shout it out real quick for our guest. If you see behind me, I also have an Aaron Evans original from my playing days.
I was going to make a really bad joke at your expense, Kyle, about that before we got
started.
I just don't have the heart to do
it. No, but hey, listening, definitely a rough outing. I expected it to be a game with kind of a wide gap of a score. I did not see a 50 burger. And in defense, once again, in a situation where UCF loses, Coach Gus Malzahn points out that the challenge that would actually consume them in the press conference comes to pass. I asked the question of, would this be Mikey Keene's biggest challenge? And it certainly turned out to be, just as Coach said it would be. So there you go.
Aaron, you have experience on the field, more so than us old guys. What was your expectation coming into this game? And with you're going up against a team that started off really hot, looked like everything was going right. In SMU, wheels started falling off, two bad losses, and then they're back home against a UCF team that was riding a little bit of a streak of their own. What was your expectations coming in?
I was just expecting a really competitive game, and I was expecting. I thought, right when the game started, I thought the whole game was going to be a shootout, throughout the whole thing. But we really fizzled out probably about second quarter. I don't really know what shifted, but yeah, I was expecting more of a competitive game from us, and I'm kind of disappointed in that.
That's definitely a simple way to say I love that word, disappointed. It's a very powerful word. I'm disappointed.
Anger is one thing. We get angry every day. But if you get that disappointed card, or you have to deliver that card as a parent, you're dealing with some powerful weapons at that point.
Part of it's the delivery. There is an art to it. No pun intended with Aaron's line of work in the art industry, but there is an art to it of the delivery. Kyle, as a parent to two kids yourself, all about the art of the delivery.
Hey, I haven't had to use the disappointed card much, I'm glad to say. But Aaron, we were talking about what may have shifted. For my money, it was a kind of a thing that early on you got SMU making the early mistakes, the defense doing defense things as they have the past few games, and setting up opportunities to score. I feel like the situation that started to happen later is when the defense wasn't necessarily causing turnovers. The offense then at that point started to have a little trouble, right? Have other situations where whether it's a drop by Ryan O'Keefe or an errant throw by Keene, it was kind of a situation that that lock just wasn't there. That at that point was when they kind of started to miss, when they didn't have that short field. Is that what you saw?
Yeah, I think so. We weren't making any conversions. I don't understand what the issue was. We just got flat. The energy that was started the game off kind of just died out in that. Mm-hmm. And we had like 4 3-and-outs in a row or whatever it was, maybe 5. And there's not you're going to wear the defense out, and that's how I think we saw is the defense just got slowly worn out throughout the game from they were just on the field too much,
Yeah, as we can see here, you go, and for those who normally see the UCF stat, software, this is a very different one. And as we found out, the second quarter broke, and they had to wait till the start of the third quarter to fix it. So it was not pretty in the booth as well as for us watching in front of television. But you go to team stats over here, and where's the third down? 6 of 17. I mean, that's I know UCF has struggled on third downs all year, but
on both sides of the ball, Drew.
On both sides of the ball. against weaker opponents, obviously you can get away with 6 for 17, versus an East Carolina, but an SMU 13-20. I'd like to point out one thing for both of you gentlemen. Tanner Mordecai had almost 300 yards passing before halftime.
Yeah.
Especially in the second quarter. Now, Aaron, you compare the first quarter where UCF was being opportunistic and it looked like it was going to be a shootout. And then you compare it to the second quarter where the defense was just a sieve and the offense couldn't make holes for the running game. They went nowhere. Passing protection was not great. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was not great. Where did you see from watching it where it went wrong as far as especially in the offensive line where just everything that was working on those couple of short drives just died?
It seems like they schemed us a little bit better, honestly. They had our number. Like they knew exactly what to do to stop each and every our tool we had in our arsenal. And we had some there's some really optimistic things for going forward in the season. Like we had a lot of really explosive plays, and I think that's awesome. But we got to be able to do that on a more consistent basis. So I think focusing on more of a bread and butter. So there's something that we can just turn to time and time again that's going to get us 5 yards, going to get us the 6 yards, going to get us the things that we need in order to get the first downs. But I don't really see that. And I think that's just I think this game sort of exposed that it's a fresh team. It's a fresh culture. It's a fresh staff. And to me, that's what I saw, because getting beat like that is not something that we do. I think that's a youth, quote unquote, youth thing. Cause I think Gus is a fantastic coach. And, so I just think this is one of the hiccups in the road, and it's going to be a gigantic learning experience.
Yeah, and your youth observation's accurate. Listen, when you got as many injuries as you do have, guys who are either young or new to the program are the ones that are going to step on the field. Sure, Jalen Robinson came back for the first time in Drew, 6 weeks? So it was nice
the Louisville game, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he definitely had a solid, long, big play completion. You mentioned explosive plays as well, Aaron. What I could tell you is during press conferences, literally every week, the phrase "big play" is something that Coach Gus talks about. I mean, and I've asked questions about where the big plays were made and how they can be done. I think the biggest problem, as the question as I asked it on Monday, was, hey, you got the big plays more from the defense being in a situation to stop big plays and or getting turnovers that created short field, right? So big plays being a thing that happens is great until you have a shootout game like you talked about. And Drew, I think you might have observed in the roundtable that we dropped before the game, I did say old-fashioned, stereotypical Texas Cowboys shootout of something that you'd see on TV. I just expected UCF to fire back more often than they did.
Yeah, we ran out of bullets, Kyle.
Early on. Well, one of the things that I noticed was, and this is a great example, is the drive late in the game when UCF was pinned at their own one. It was, you had one pass that was a little high, but then you had 2 deep passes. There was no attempt to get out of the end zone. I just think it was, it looked a little irresponsible.
How Madden.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing NFL Blitz or something. First and 30, let's do the bomb and just chuck it, because that's the only play that's worth running in that game.
Algorithm.
But yeah. I mean, let's think about this. You talk about the big plays. Eventually, it comes to small plays and making the little things. Case in point, on the defensive side, it looked like Justin Hodges was going to sack Tanner Mordecai. He didn't finish the job, and he had his Nick Young moment where he turned around and thought he had him, and he was still up and running.
Right.
And instead of having a big loss and something that can build a little momentum, even though it wasn't going to really change things, they still punted the ball away, but it would have kept them outside of their own 10 most likely. I think they got pinned at the 8 after that play. He was still able to roll out, get outside the pocket, throw it away, and you're not able to create that extra energy. And it started becoming little things, and they just eventually they add up and become big things. Now, Aaron, during your time on the field, how important was momentum?
It's everything. Because if you lose, if you're rolling a boulder up a hill and you stop, you get the full weight of that boulder again. You know what I mean? And I think we came out swinging really, really hard, and we just stopped. And we can't do that. And that's why I said earlier about having more of a bread and butter in our arsenal, like a consistent run play, because we have some really dominant offensive linemen right now, and like older guys, and they have Cole Schneider, Sam Jackson, our center. I don't know the rest of the guys' names by heart right now. I'm gonna be truthful, but there's some really dominant cats, and I've watched them time and time again do that. And I think utilizing those tools in our arsenal, utilizing that experience, and trusting those athletes to be as productive as our receivers. You know what I'm saying? In our running core and stuff. So that's where, for me, it's like I've always thought that we really need to establish an identity in the run game, because I guess that's an offensive lineman me speaking. But that's something that I admire around, because the way I see it is UCF is building a culture like Alabama. And that's in my mind. And when we went 13-0, that's what all I could think about was, what type of culture did we need to have that success, that consistent success. And what Alabama does is, what they're going to do. And they just punch you in the mouth really, really hard, and you just back off. And that's what I think we need at UCF personally. And in the run game, we need something that can just consistently punch people in the mouth, because no one likes getting punched in the mouth. And you just punch them in the mouth. You punch them in the mouth 20 times. By the end of the game, you wore their defensive line out, and then you can just do whatever you want. And then that's where that's my smash mouth mentality. But my favorite quote is, best part of offensive line play, and I think that actually the O-line coach said it recently, is moving a man from point A to point B against his will. And I think we should let our guys do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a big part of that punch, a big part of that fist is definitely out of the rotation, in the sense when Isaiah Bowser isn't on the field, unfortunately. Correct. But Mark Anthony Richter came in a rare sighting. Granted, he carried the ball, I think it was 6 or 8 times through, and still managed 104 yards. What do you think of him when he stepped on the field, Aaron?
Well, my thought is, what took so long? He was the hero against East Carolina.
We'll get there in a minute. I want to hear what Aaron thinks of Mark Anthony first, and then you can go on your whiny rant about where's he been.
He's saucy. He's got a great name, but no, he's saucy with it. He's explosive, and he's powerful, and he's got good vision, I've noticed. And I think when we have tools like that in our arsenal, we should give them the opportunity to grow into these roles. You know what I'm saying? These young guys aren't going to get the experience unless we expose them to the bullets, expose them to the fire. You know what I'm saying? So, again, utilize that's what I'm saying. We need to establish an identity, and I think if we want to continue to have the culture of the powerhouse program, we have to establish something like that.
Okay, Aaron. Drew. Now with that ammunition, proceed.
Well, you had him for the first game. Not first game. The game against East Carolina, where he finally came out. He was the hero, and this was the second game that he had meaningful time, not just like a spot carry and garbage time, but he had meaningful play. And he made something happen. He's not a small guy. He's over 200 pounds, and UCF needs an every down back, especially with Isaiah Bowser dealing with injury issues. He was available.
And he's tall too.
Say what?
He's tall too. He's not just
he's a little over 6 feet tall. So he's got the size. He's got vision, and he seems to be making pretty good decisions, able to break open the big play. This isn't unprecedented that he's done it. But here's the truth. Johnny Richardson is not an every down back.
Right.
He's a good change of pace back, and he's a great lightning to someone else, being the Thunder. But he's not an every down guy. He's too much of a shimmy guy who wants to go east-west and go to the outside than north-south. And sometimes you need a guy to just go between the tackles and hit someone.
Yes, a juggernaut.
It's but it's true.
You're not wrong.
As Aaron says, you want to punch a guy in the mouth, and you do that a number of times. They tire out in the fourth quarter. That's what Navy did to UCF. They ran enough times up the middle. UCF defense was tired. They were out of gas, and that's when you can really start gashing. SMU started doing it late in the game. The two running backs just had a field day against UCF, but the tackling was just atrocious. Basically, all the things that they were fixing in the second half of the year from mistakes that were happening in the first half all came back because the first half of the year was missed tackle after missed tackle. And you know, this is not how you win games, make friends, and influence people.
let me ask you this question though, Drew, with all that in mind, because I knew you were going to say this about Mark Anthony Richter, and you could tell I knew it was coming by the way I was making jokes earlier at your expense, to use your words. But here's the question I wanted to kind of ask you, because I knew you were going to come with that, and you're right to do so. Let me be clear. But with Isaiah Bowser's health situation, UConn, the juggernaut of a program that is UConn, coming to town into the bounce house in the coming Saturday. I would assume Coach Gus, like with his tibia, is trying to stay off of it a little bit with Bowser going into the lineup. Do you think whoever wants to answer this one, go for it. Do you think that Mark Anthony Richter has earned enough stock in this performance to not just take some carries, but perhaps be the starting guy against UConn to see maybe if he can finish the season if Bowser can't?
I'm going to defer to our guest, Aaron, on that one.
I think preserving Bowser for later in the season would be a more strategic plan. I mean, obviously, we need him back in as soon as possible. But, I mean, if he's still at 70%, his system might fail again. You know what I'm saying? And we need him fully healthy. And so, I mean, I would agree. I think giving him a shot and seeing what he can do and giving him, like couple series in a row where he's, like, really showcased. And because, again, you don't get that experience unless you get the experience. And just exposing him to the fire, letting him learn, letting him grow. And we do it early enough in the game that we can kind of work through the mistakes if there are any, and we can grow from that. And that's how I see it.
So, and one last cherry I'll put on top of the topic of Bowser at the moment is the future I see is if he plays again this season, it will be against the University of not South Florida, because with UCF exactly. When UCF attends their bowl game, wherever it is, be it in the state of Alabama or where else, I really realistically see that Isaiah Bowser will sit out and move towards his pro aspirations, especially since he has that injury. He's going to want to hit the combine if invited, with all the maximum capacity that he can, right?
It wouldn't surprise me if he does. You know, that's. We tend to forget one big thing about bowl games. Bowl games are exhibition games. Unless you're playing for national title, they're really an exhibition game. It's about the players. It's a thing for the players more than anything else. It's about the experience. Yeah. It's about, you know, all the other aspects, not just the game. You know, the extra practices are very important for the coaching staff, but it's about the whole package. And Kyle, when I was in Atlanta covering the Peach Bowl, I followed what the team was doing, and you know, half of that was the you know, visiting, you know, different things for civil rights, the trivia contest, the other competitions against Auburn's players outside of the game. That's what a bowl game's is about in a lot of scale. It's for the players. You know, they go to the Hawaii Bowl. It's not for the fans. It's for the players. It's a reward for having a good enough season to do it. But you know, guys they're playing for, you know, the team. They're playing for themselves. There's no conference championship on the line. There's no national championship on the line. If you've got a pro career to worry about, I mean, I don't blame anyone for sitting out. At the end of the day, you have to take care of number one. Now, Aaron, you've been to multiple bowl games. I would love your take on your bowl game experiences.
My freshman year was the Fiesta Bowl. I went to the what was it called? Bitcoin Bowl. I wish they would have given us all a handful of shit. I think about that every once in a while. When I see that ticker, just keep climbing. And what was it? Peach Bowl. What was the bowl before? It was the
Cure Bowl. The Cure Bowl was the one before.
Yeah. And I sat out actually of the Peach Bowl because I had 2 herniated discs and I had back surgery. So, and I was trying to be ready for the combine. And honestly, I would encourage Bowser to consider playing because you're not guaranteed anything after this. And I don't want to say I regret it, and I don't want to say that I didn't do, like, everyone's like, oh, you did this, but like, frankly, it's like I cried myself to sleep the whole week before the Peach Bowl because I wasn't playing in it. And it was my decision. I made it. No one knows that. I didn't tell that to anybody, but that was me. And it was one of the most hard, like, so I don't know if we're going to go to a bowl of that caliber this year, obviously.
Right.
Obviously, that has the weight in this. But, yeah, bowl season is really fun, and it's definitely for the guys because, I mean, I remember sitting at the Peach Bowl with all my brothers, and it was just like we were literally brothers. There was like pockets of guys here and there walking around the city, and we'd all just be like, "What's up, bro?" and just like hanging out the whole trip. It was like that, and it was like that was really a special team. Truly, that was, and it is a nice cherry on the top after really hard grind because really the grind starts in spring ball, and then it works all the way into the season, and so that's a really, really like a much needed like pat on the back. At the end of the year, because like we're all beat up, we're all tired, we're mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted, and to be able to relish in the victories in a kind of a low-key environment when everything else has been so stressful is just it's really just savory. You know what I mean? So
savory. I like
Savory.
that. When he wants to bite into that, just like I like that.
Biscuits.
Biscuits. There you go, buddy.
But I think Aaron makes a very valid point. You know, it's tough for a guy to decide not to play. That's hard because especially you've got that whole season behind you of how you got there, because you know this isn't done in a vacuum. You've got beginning of spring ball, you got you know beginning of fall practice, you've got 12 regular season games, you got a conference championship game. All that led to that moment. And yeah, it's got to be tough. You know, it's got to be tough for any player to decide. I know a number of UCF players last year opted not to play in the Boca Raton Bowl, but you know, obviously it's a big difference. You know, you're kind of going down to the Bitcoin Bowl at that point level of making that decision, as opposed to, you know, a New Year's Six like the Peach or the Fiesta. Obviously a very, very different scale. And, you know, if I had to put, I've always thought that UCF would end up in maybe the Military Bowl this year. And I still think it's a very realistic possibility as long as they could stay in the top four. But, you know, that's probably going to make some of those choices a little bit easier because it's not the same level. But in the end, it's still a game. It's with your team, which, you know, it becomes an extended family, and, you know, you're there for each other. And, you know, it's a tough balance. I don't envy it for anyone who has to make that decision. I'll be honest.
No, it's not a fun decision to make.
Now, Kyle and I, the only bowling that we've got to do is down at the lanes where we threw a bunch of gutter balls. That's about it.
Speak for yourself. I played at the Rice Bowl to get my championship semi-pro.
Yeah, the only bowl that I got to was the Soup Bowl when I was recovering from injuries. That's about as close. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was life's way of saying, you know, putting pads on is you're no longer worthy of it. But, you know.
Drew, let me get something else in too. Like I was texting with Aaron during the game. You made an observation about the defense that I think is worth bringing up. Do you remember what that was?
I made so many observations, I've lost count. Which one was it?
We struggle with tackling right now. Like, really, the open field tackling is really not great. Not great at all. Our tackling, it seems like we're not tackling at practice ever. That's what it seems like to me. Like, and it showed on the field, like all the arm tackling, the weak, like, but so there, I mean, not to discredit the big hits, there was a lot of really, like, they were cracking some people today. But again, you need consistent tackling. Like, you need to be able to, like, catch someone in the open field and grab their legs up and bring them down. And I don't think we saw that. I mean, they should not be able to. Most of the plays were big plays. Like, it wasn't like they drove us all the way down the field and scored. It was just big plays because of missed tackles. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's definitely something that you can work on. That's definitely something we can improve upon. And, I mean, again, I think that's just another thing. Young guys, young team, young culture. Just I think this game is just going to be a really needed shell shock to the system. To kind of, I think we're going to come out next week roaring. Honestly, I know the pride the guys have on this team. I know a few of them pretty well. I don't know the whole team like I used to, but I know that these guys really genuinely care. And honestly, for them, like people Sam Jackson, Cole Schneider, those guys, that era of guys, they've been through how many coaches now? You know what I'm saying? 3, right?
Yeah, at least 3, right?
So like for them to be able to come in and continue to win games and have a net positive season so far, you know what I'm saying, is something to note. So like, I don't know, we got a lot to work on. I think this game is going to be, it's a make or break game type of thing. And I think with the staff that we have, and I love the new staff, I think it's going to be a game that's going to really grow the program.
Yeah, it's lucky for UCF that the next 2 games, the last 2 of the regular season, both at home. You know, the Bounce House is not an easy place for visitors to come play at. The energy that the fans bring is at extremely high level. Even when there's not many people there, they can make a lot of noise, and they bring it. You hear it.
True fans are the loud ones, right?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it was 2008. It was against South Florida, and it was a terrible game. And UCF was flat all game. They're down 2 touchdowns, and about 2/3 of the stadium is emptied out. You know, UCF starts mounting a comeback. We're smacking the benches in front of us to make noise. Just any way to make noise. And when you're in a steel stadium, you could do that. And UCF comes back. They go to overtime, and of course they fall short. But they came back in, and you could hear it on the television. That was, that's what UCF fans bring this. They bring an energy, even if they don't have numbers for whatever reason, bad weather, or the game had a 3-hour weather delay, and a few people had to go home because they had kids. They know how to bring it. They know how to bring the noise and the energy. And as you said, momentum is everything, and that's how you build it. But first step starts next week against UConn. The football juggernaut that is, and the rivalry. And speaking of which, Aaron, I believe you outlived the entire lifetime of that rivalry. From your playing career, from start to finish.
When Frost left that trophy on the field, I was just staring, and I was like, that is such a excuse my language, but dick swing and move.
It's definitely a power move, no question.
Oh man.
I was like, this is so sick. I mean, honestly, that was like the whole essence of that team that year. One thing that I think is notable is about that team is Frost inherited a team that had one of the biggest chips on their shoulder that you could possibly have. After going 0-12 and being the laughingstock of the country, the laughingstock of the school, teachers and professors mocking you in class, bro, I remember all of it vividly. I remember the teachers' faces when they said what they said in class. I was just like, really? You know what I mean? So I think Frost really inherited something special with that team. And but anyways, that was kind of a sidebar. But
we Kyle and I have been doing radio and podcasts for years together, and we live by the sidebar. We suffer from a massive case of squirrel syndrome.
Well, hey, moreover, listen, we needed Aaron to have his opportunity to do his own power move and tangent the show as any good guest should. I'm just saying.
All right, I won't argue with that. But, part of that, you can't replace that kind of experience. You lived it, you watched it, you were there on the field. People have wondered where the real trophy has gone. There's been fakes made. Nobody knows. People think it may have ended up in a storage closet by Bob Diaco or something, but that real trophy, it disappeared.
Out for the program because they see a blossoming UCF program. That's all that was.
So it's not the trophy should have been a hook as an effort to grab onto some coattails. Is that what you're saying, boss?
More like a fishing hook, maybe, and we were just like, no.
Come on, that was a simple case of trying to manufacture a rivalry. As we know, Kyle, from our experience from being old guys, UCF Marshall is how you manufacture a rivalry. You need some sort of giant multi-billion-dollar conglomerate backing it. You just can't make it on a whim. You need some dollars behind it. That's what ESPN did, and thus that rivalry was created. until the move to the American. Then it
That's why the
bowl
games happen too, because we the players lined the pockets of a lot of people during the season.
That's true too. I mean, that's how that rolls. And I've always said that
frowned upon statement, though.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
You don't hear us arguing with you, brother man.
But I've always said that 2015 team is the most talented winless team I've ever seen.
Oh, I mean, half the team or more than half the team was on the perfect season.
Yeah.
You know,
I've had arguments about it, and I've said you haven't seen a bad team until you see the 2004 UCF team. That was a bad team where you had to take 2 wide receivers and make them defensive backs because there was nobody left. That's a bad team. People are, we went through 0 for 12. No, that was bad circumstances. That was not a bad team.
I would love to play linebacker. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh, that just scares me thinking about it.
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun.
15 more pounds. I'll be about 245. Be a monster. I would crush a running back in the hole. My God.
So,
semi-pro. There's options. Kyle knows people.
I'm a power broker over here, right? So, I mean, as much as we're enjoying Drew's therapy of past pains being let loose here tonight, let me ask you this, Aaron, because obviously the big thing for the future of the program is obviously moving into the Big 12. I know you and I have talked a bit about some other stuff regarding the future. We've talked about Coach Gus. I don't really think I've had an opportunity to kind of pick your brain about how you feel about the move to the Big 12 conference.
I think it's testament to the work that we've been putting in for the last, at least since I was a freshman with the Fiesta Bowl, Blake Bortles. That team's legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's testament to everything that this program has been working towards, that the claiming the national championship title, like, you will respect us, and then following it up with how we play. And I think that's where the fans have a disconnect sometimes, is because we have games like this. And but I think moving to the Big 12 is a really a big deal, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get on a new stage, new calibers, different flavors, different teams. You know what I'm saying? It's going to really stretch and grow this program even more, and I think it's very exciting, honestly. And I'm glad we're leaving teams like USF in the past. Like,
amen.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. That's been more of a divided issue than I thought it was going to be.
Well, then let's schedule them as our rival game, that one game a year that's random, and we'll schedule them for that, but we'll turn our attention to what our real goals are, which is being a powerhouse school. And that's, for me, that's where I'm like, we flip-flop back and forth. Like, we just think about just this season. I'm like, we got to think about the big goal, because that's going to inform this season right now. And I think, I think this new staff he coached Auburn, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm very, very optimistic about the future of this program and this team. And I hope Gus stays for the long time. Like, I hope he decides to nest here, because we need to build a culture that's stable. And the stuff that they've done to the program already is magnificent, in my opinion. So,
what's not to love?
Yeah, I agree.
You're in Orlando. You're in a hotbed of recruiting. You're in a great state weather-wise. He walked away from Auburn with a $21 million payday, no strings attached, no offset, no nothing.
May the force be with you.
Oh yeah, I even said I wasn't planning on coaching this year. And then Terry Mohajer called me, and that was it. He knows UCF. He obviously coached the Fiesta Bowl, but he was also an assistant at Tulsa when UCF played them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been he knows what the school is. Granted, that was
I think
15 years ago, but still.
I know I really grew a lot of respect for him watching him operate with the Auburn team at the Peach Bowl. Like, I was like, wow, this team is really they're very respectful, they're cool, they're organized, they're calm, collected. Like this was a legit program. Like, you could just tell the way they carried themselves. And I was like, that's testament to the head coach. And I think we saw a culture shift with the last coaching staff at UCF. And you see the culture shift with each coach, and you see how the team performs, and it's all reflective of the head, and I'm excited about the future.
And that's where it starts. It always starts at the head. And obviously it takes time. It takes time to get your people in place, as well as just to get the whole turnaround. It's obviously never an overnight thing. Frost, it took a couple of years for things to kind of just hit right. This is going to take a little bit of time.
A year and a half.
Year and a half. But it did take more than a year. It didn't happen overnight. I know Gus had to deal with a little bit of attrition coming into the season. Nature of the beast, you have a little, you're a little thin at defensive end. You had to move some guys out of position. You just roll with the punches.
The punch in the gut, it's unreal.
And then the injuries.
How did this go since he broke his leg? Afterwards, we just sort of got kind of flat. And I think I think what he's doing, and we're having still a relatively successful season with as many injuries as we have, is just, again, testament. He's a really great coach. So,
and Kyle's talked to him a lot, through the press conferences. He gets to go to the midweek ones. I can't go to the midweek ones because I live too far away. But
I'll say this: I came across him after the Boise State game. I walked by him. I think he recognized me from the presser. I'm something about a 300-pound man in a tie that leaves an impression. I'm just saying.
Is it the tie or the 300 pounds?
It's a combination, Drew. It's a combination. First of all, I take up that much space.
Charisma.
I'm
now, Kyle, for context, how tall are you?
6'5".
So 300. It's not like you're a blob.
All I'm saying is, when Aaron and I enter a room, ish gets crazy.
Well, I was gonna say it's better than the bar fight you and I had once.
That's overstating it, but I digress. No, but I ran into him after the Boise State game, just after the press conference, and I was walking out, and he was coming out. Stayed awake for us tonight, did you? So I went over, I shook his hand. Oh, hey, this is my first time covering you, Coach. You gave us a good one tonight. It's like, glad it went that way. He just very cordial, like, not Ed Orgeron friendly, but definitely warm. And he's not one of these guys that stands up at the podium and just says words for minutes.
Loud noises.
Yeah.
And still actually conveys absolutely nothing.
Like, he seems like a real genuine, down-to-earth person who's a coach of football, and he's not an ego. Like, I mean that, like, again, the guys seem so happy to me. Like, when I see the guys, they seem like really, really good. And that to me is like so good to see, because I know how it feels in O'Leary age.
The one thing that I take away is he's not afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And kind of like a doctor, a lot of people who feel like they're at the pinnacle of their class, of their profession, never want to say they don't know something. And so that's where that whole coach speak comes in. I think
it means weakness or something, and it doesn't.
Yeah. He comes off very genuine, down to earth. He's got that little Southern drawl. And the big difference between him and Ed Orgeron is you're going to understand what Gus Malzahn says.
Listen, I never had to translate. I just had to think really hard. But listen, my favorite phrase of his into that ilk is, I don't know exactly how, but blah. And he's gonna give you direction of what he's gonna do to solve it.
Yeah.
With that, Aaron, I know we don't want to keep you too long, but you being here, I do want you the opportunity to tell the people out there about your art and what you're doing. Mention your latest mural at UCF, perhaps. Let the people know what you've been up to.
So former UCF night, I had a God moment a few years ago, changed my life, and I chose to be an artist full time. And right now I'm doing a lot of art therapy stuff with this. There's a place called Created Women in Tampa, and I do art classes for them. It's women getting out of sex trafficking, prostitution, the pornography industry, all of it. They offer housing, food, GED programs. I'm partnered with another program called Veterans Art Center Tampa Bay, and it's offering holistic therapy options for veterans who are struggling with PTSD and stuff. So I've been doing art classes with the veterans that are in the jail, actually, over in Tampa. So I've been going to like their cell block, and I sit with them for a couple hours, like 25 guys, and I draw and paint. And then I do stuff with after-school programs, special needs stuff. Really, wherever I feel called and led to go, I paint. But I also The business side of it is I paint custom art. I paint murals. I paint originals, just like Kyle's above his head. My most recent projects, notable projects, is I did the Space U mural this summer, which I donated to the school, and then I did the newest mural called I call it the Nitro Lightspeed. I don't really have a great name for it. To Infinity and Beyond, maybe.
Nice.
I smell lawsuit.
Infinities and Beyonds.
Just spell it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Put an accent, infinite and beyond.
Exactly.
Infinita.
Accent marks and stuff. I'm thinking of Cartman right now. Authority. Anyways. Yeah, so I do murals, and I really love just serving my community with these gifts that I've been given. And I guess my message would be is share your gifts with your community. You never know who you're going to touch. You never know what impact you'll have just from being authentic and real and just sharing that with people, just like you guys are doing with these podcasts and in these radio shows. And yeah, I'm just excited and optimistic about where this journey's going. So, yeah.
I'd like to point out there's this giant white spot right there. I could definitely use something.
Yeah, let me have my content.
I've always joked that our mothers tell us to share our gifts with the world. His is the gift of art, and mine is the gift to annoying. We all have to share our gifts with the world.
That's right.
Well, how can you use your gift of being annoying to impact people for a good reason?
Because it makes them realize that their issues aren't so bad.
Bro, what?
No. In all seriousness, we all have callings. You use your gift in art. I can only draw stick figures poorly, so art is not my gift.
I'm gonna be thinking about that because that is literally the line everyone says.
Poorly? Do they make sure it's poorly?
A stick figure, and I'm like, okay, I'll show you.
I mean, I did a couple of things. My brother's the artist. I'm the writer. He's the actual artist. He started Ringling School for a while.
You have a beautiful mind too.
Oh well, Kyle and I were musicians. That's different art. Or in our friend Weasel's case, he just happened to hold an instrument.
You should.
But we all have a place. And we're thrilled that you were able to take the time out of your day to come hang out with us. It's unfortunate that we didn't get as many fan interactions today. I mean, I understand the need to drown our sorrows after riding a 3-game winning streak and then laying somewhat of an egg against a team that was just really angry. They took out a lot of pain and aggression and frustrations on the Knights. But I wish I could have delivered something a little bit better. I'm sorry it wasn't my best. I'll try harder next time.
Oh boy, here he goes.
In context, Aaron, that is something I put at the end, essentially the end of every one of my knee-jerk reaction articles because of something that happened at the very beginning of last year when Georgia Tech's
where can you find those knee-jerk reaction articles, Drew?
Obviously this week's isn't quite done yet because I've been doing this, but it's almost done, which is the sad part. Usually it's not a close game if it's done pretty quickly. But obviously you can catch all of our work at UCF Banneret _SBN. We're still working on trying to get that old Twitter handle back. We've learned don't mess with the settings under any circumstance because the Twitter overlords will come and shut you down.
Well, I was listening. You got to work on your branding skills, Chief. I was hoping you were going to drop the website for Black and Gold Banneret, but that's okay. And then
it's in the profile.
Yeah, exactly. And Aaron, where can the good people find you to follow your work and what you're doing?
Yeah, so my primary outlets right now are Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but I don't really use that much. I've been trying to I need to get my website back up and running. I had one, but it's down right now. But it's my handles for Instagram and Twitter are the same, and it's @Evans_art.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
See, that's how
Right
you
there.
brand, Drew, just for the record.
I'm not a marketing person. You know that.
I've seen your Twitter. I know better. Anyways, dude.
But no, you can find my work at Statboy Drew. I am not savvy enough to use Instagram on a regular basis, despite the fact I take a massive ton of photos. I just never put them up, and my wife yells at me for it.
Yeah, step your
You
game
should.
up.
She should. Don't be
That's
afraid.
right.
Well, it's funny. I do scenic photography as a hobby, and I don't put it online.
Well, Liz, so like I had this giant epiphany this week, and it's been this giant fear of rejection piece in my life. Since Philly cut me, I've had this mental complex about being rejected, and I just had the aha moment Sunday.
Nice.
Don't be afraid. You're valuable. What you make is awesome. What you do is awesome. Don't be afraid. Post it. Who cares? If you enjoy it, that's all that matters. Someone else will radiate with that.
I've been doing food. I've been doing food now.
Beautiful.
But you know, it's funny. You make it a lot more eloquent than my dad did. I was always, when you're back in middle school age, you're afraid to ask the girls to dance. And this was back when Drew Carey was on TV and we were living in Cleveland. And he goes, the worst thing they can have is the Mimi effect. I go, what do you mean? He goes, all they can say to you is drop dead, pig.
Well, honestly, though.
But they're right. He's right. All it is they can say some words, but in the end, it's about you.
Well, if you're thinking about like one of the other things that really helps, especially with it's helped me a lot with like public speaking is if you're really worried about going on stage, it's because you're thinking about yourself and you're not thinking about what you can give to the audience and what impact you'll have. And you're not thinking about the value that it is that you get to share whatever you're about to share with them. Like, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to be this. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares, bro? Just share. You got something. You have a gift. Share it. It's special. If you love it, share it.
That's why it's important in the morning. You go to your mirror and laugh at yourself because you do it before anyone else can. And no one will bother you at that point because you've already laughed at yourself. They can't do anything to you.
No, you should be saying, I'm a handsome mother effer, and I'm about to crush the day.
Gonna crush something. A cheeseburger.
Yeah, crush
Hey.
tacos. Crush the day.
Oh man! Now that we've gone completely derailed, but this is how Kyle and I roll, and this is what Eric gets for letting us, giving us the keys to the kingdom. Things get derailed, and I have no regrets.
This guy.
All right, gentlemen, I think it's time that we wrap it up. We all got things to see and good football to watch. So, again, you can catch me at Statboy Drew. You can catch Kyle at the SOGG. And because I'm probably going to get the number wrong, it is A Evans 78
_ art.
Oh,
No,
Art.
no
Okay,
number.
I thought there was a number in there. Okay, A Evans _ art. Catch his work on Twitter, and then he probably has links to stuff on Instagram. Go to his stuff. Check out the work. Check out the work he's done at the Bounce House.
Don't be afraid. Check it out.
Don't be afraid. It won't laugh at you.
They're awesome. They're one of a kind. You'll never get them anywhere else in the world except for me. These giant ogre hands.
Ogre hands. Okay, I got to go on another non sequitur. So it reminds me of a time when John Madden was still doing Monday Night Football, and it was a Thanksgiving game between San Francisco and Philadelphia, and they're in Philadelphia, and of course he's all about turduckens. And there's actually a place here in Sarasota. I'm in Bradenton.
Ooh, nice.
Nice. That makes turducken, and so it's it's a duck stuffed in it with stuffing. Then that's put into a chicken with a layer of stuffing, and that's put into a turkey. Actually, switch the duck and the chicken. Anyway, turducken.
I love the audio-visual effect we have with Drew's story, and then Aaron flashing his art. This is great. Keep going.
So he brings one out, and John Madden. He has literal bear claws for hands. I mean, they probably like 3 times the size of mine, and I'm normal. So he comes out and he's tearing into this thing on camera. I mean, just absolutely mauling this thing to death. I mean, oh, poor thing.
I'll something every once in a while, and I forget that I'm gigantic around normal people. And I will like rip something out of the wall or whatever, just grab it, just
smash.
I picked up a whole filing cabinet the other day, and I just like picked it up with my literally just these two fingers. And I just moved it, and the lady was like, "What?" And then the other day, I picked up an entire AC unit.
Remember, when your mask isn't on, you have to keep the superpowers at bay.
You know,
What's the point of having a secret identity?
it's the whole reason Drew and I wear glasses.
Yeah, see? Ah!
Ooh, I like that one, Aaron.
This is how I feel when I play football.
Like monster from the pit come to destroy
It's
you.
not anger, it's just pure carnage.
Well, I mean, you could draw Carnage, you know. He's pretty badass.
Yeah.
But no, to finish the story, then PETA writes a letter saying that the kind-hearted Philadelphia fans were appalled at John Madden's actions, and the entire world just kind of turned and laughed at him.
Yeah.
Not because of the letter that they wrote, but because they said the kind-hearted Philly fans.
Yes, the people that booed Santa are kind-hearted. Woo!
They're burning their trash cans and cars in the streets after a loss.
Pretty much. So now that we've totally lost it, I do want to throw one quick comment on there. Let's see some progress next week. We need progress next week. You got to finish the season strong, especially when you want to build momentum into 2022. You've got what looks to possibly be the highest rated recruiting class in school history. So you want to end on a good note. You have 2 more wins. You got a bowl game that can give you a potential 9th win, and then go into an offseason that could be historic for this program as you get more of the Malzahn brand in there. Because obviously you came in kind of late in the process. Most of the signings are done in December now with the early signing period. So yes, let's see some progress for next week. We need it. I need it. You need it. We all need it. And then come to the bounce house Saturday, 4 p.m. against Connecticut for that game that used to have a trophy.
I'm conflicted on what to call it.
Call it another game.
Call it a game against UConn. That's nothing else.
There's no rivalry there.
No.
I hope
was
somebody
made up like
caught
the
the
Tooth
pun
Fairy.
in there, by the way. I'm praying.
Power to the name, right? Like that's why you don't say Voldemort. So
Nice.
don't say it.
Rule number 1 is you don't talk about it. Rule number 2, see rule number 1.
Precisely. All right, gentlemen.
Let's close this up. Everyone, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Go Knights and charge on.
Woo!